Yeah, I bet you got a little startled when he said OJ, huh? I seen the white girls. You guys, oh my God, heavens knows, some bullshit. OJ, he's out already. Yeah, but it's all good because it stands for Oliver. You know, I had to go by OJ because I got partners in the hood. Family in the hood, and I can't go to the hood with a name like Oliver. I fuck around and get my ass beat. You know what I mean? That's like seeing a buff dude eating like a ice cream cone, like a scoop of ice cream on an ice cream cone on Dollar Scoop Tuesdays and shit. That's like seeing this dude right here eating a corn dog. You like corn dogs, player? You like shit? I eat that shit at home by myself. But you look like you a fucking corn dog up till you just take it off the stick and be like, nigga, fuck this shit. But yeah, man, it was crazy. But yeah. My dad was trying to get me to go to school, out in Fairfield, so I could play for the Fairfield Falcons or even like the Armeo Indians, and maybe get a scholarship like that through sports. But I ended up like, how you fall in love and everything, and then I ended up getting with like my first baby mom, the mother of my child, and we actually, we started dating and everything, and then I ended up getting her pregnant, right? So once I got her pregnant, then that's when my dad, like, that's what really, like, kind of pissed him off a little bit, because he was just like, man, now you messed up your whole, you're not going to be able to play football. You messed up your whole football career now, Now you got to go get a job and, and support the baby, take care of the baby. Because one thing about my dad, I call like my dad, he's a real man because he actually like, when we were small, before I was even born, he worked, he just worked all the time. He had like, he tell me the story like 50,000 times. Like he had like 4 or 5 jobs. It was really like 3, you know what I mean? And, and he just, he would work day and night basically so we could have a roof over our head, And that's what he did. He always took care of my family, everything, So it's like, that's what I do respect him for. But it's like me, I was different. I don't know if it's because I was spoiled a little bit or whatnot, but it's just, that's not what I wanted to do. Like I've had worked a lot of jobs and stuff, like Home Depot, like construction jobs and warehouse jobs and stuff like that. But it's just not my thing, because even when I'm at work, I would clown around, just, clowning and having everybody laugh, That's one thing I think that a lot of people remember from me is just, clowning. I'll wake up, put on my work clothes, and I really just like, drive off and like go to my partner's house and like play PlayStation or something, But then my dad, after a while, he started kind of catching on, and he's all like, I know you don't have a job, He's like, what happened? And I was all like, I don't know. I was like, I'm just looking for something else, that'll pay me more. And he's like, that's stupid, why quit a job? You don't quit a job and then wait to go into another job. He said you're supposed to keep a job and then, then you go into the other job, still having, so you have a backup just in case if you don't get the other one and you can still have money coming in. Like I knew that already, but then I was just like, I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, he's like, man, the older you get, the stupider you get, That used to be his line. He's like, the older you get, the stupider you get. But then he'd just say it because it's like, I would give him, those are like, I basically lied to him, so it was an ignorant lie. So he was just like, that's stupid. So, but he knew that I was still doing the comedy thing. So he was just like, I know that, you probably be late to work and stuff because you're doing this comedy. He said, honestly, he said, you got your priorities messed up. He used to always tell me I need to get my priorities straight, right? And he was just like, your priorities all messed up. He's like, you should be focusing on your job that's giving, that you're getting an income in. I mean, it's common sense, you should. But he didn't realize how much I started, the love that I have for comedy, right? And so I was busting my ass to, to get to my comedy shows. My dad said, why can't I use that same energy into getting a job? And he just didn't understand. So for the longest time, he thought, it was like, like I was wasting my time. So he really didn't even come to my shows at first. My mom used to come. She always supported me, even though she didn't agree with it, but she'd come anyway. And she saw how I was doing it, and she saw that I really loved doing it. And I think once she seen all the people too, she was really shocked. So then the next show that I had was, I had a big show at Pepper Belly's, and my dad was in the audience because he heard people at the at the barber shop, the barbers was telling them, hey man, have you seen your son? I didn't know your son do comedy. You know, he funny and blah, blah, blah. And then so like hearing people telling my dad that, like, you know, for once it's like he's getting good news about his son, you know, because like usually he would always tell me, people at his job would be like, oh, you know, my daughter is getting straight A's, or my daughter is going to UC Berkeley, my daughter is going to UC Davis, and all. And then he said, he's like, what am I going to tell him about you? You know? But like now he tells you, but like whenever you hear my dad, like I always hear people, like his friends tell me like, man, your dad is proud of you, you know? He's always talking about how you doing comedy. Everybody and their mama know, like my parents, they went to Jamaica and they must have told like hella people that I do comedy and told them where to look me up and stuff, because hella people from Jamaica was hitting me on Facebook and stuff. It was crazy. So it's like, I know that like it makes me feel good that I'm making them proud now, you know. And then I think what really made them proud is the fact that this is something that I'm being consistent, I'm staying in, you know, and I'm not just in it and I, you know, let it go, you know, or quit, you know what I mean? So I guess like, you know, any parent would feel that way about the kids. So like now me and him, believe it or not, I think this comedy stuff, it kind of made us closer. Because at first for so long we were like this. Like once I had, you know, my first child and stuff, me and my dad was just, we wasn't all there. I mean, we were cool, but then it wasn't like as close as it is now. Like, you know, it's like, you know, I mean, we always did stuff together too, don't get me wrong. Like from when I was younger, but then that high school part was kind of like, you know, so it's like from graduation on, me and my dad been tight. It's like my dad is like my best friend. You know, I could go to him, talk to him about anything, and then, you know, he's always there, and that's kind of cool. That's cool.